Welcome back, I'm Jana and this is Purl Together. So in this week's video, I want to talk about the way in which you would knit a mitered diamond for your sock blankie. So if you look back on the podcast from last time, when I talk about the Freedom knit along, I'm freeing up this whip and I'm rescuing it from the depths of hibernation. And in this week's video, I'm going to show you how to knit one of these mitered squares. Now, when you very first start out your blanket, you're going to have to knit one individually, and I'll show you how to do that. And then I'll show you how to pick up and connect them. So with subsequent diamonds, there's no sewing or anything. You're just picking up the edges and carrying on. I want to give a big shout out to the handful of people who have contributed some little scraps like this to my blanket. So I'm moving right along. It's going to take a long time, but I'm doing a diamond a day. So let's get started and I'll show you how I do it. I've cast on 31 stitches onto this metal DPN. I'm using size 1. You can use whatever gauge you like for the fabric, the resulting fabric for your blanket. I think denser is a little better since it's not one of those holy Afghans. It's actually going to be a solid blanket. So I've cast on 31. You want to have an odd number because we're going to be doing a central double decrease here in the middle. And so you'll see what happens with that in a moment. But I've just cast on 31 and now I'm just going to knit my way back. So these are going to be garter stitch mitered squares. So I'm just going to knit my way back and I'm going to slip the first stitch with the yarn in front, slip as if to purl. Then I'm going to take the yarn to the back between the first and second stitch. And by slipping the first stitch, that's going to make a really nice edge that will be clean and easy to see where you need to pick up your stitches when you want to add another square, because the whole point of this is to pick up and add squares as you go and not have to sew anything in. So I'll just knit my way back and then I'll show you how we're going to begin the decreases and make the diamond. Okay, so I've just knitted my way back, and when I get to the very last stitch, I'm going to knit through the back loop. And you'll see why, you'll see why we do that as well. It opens it up a little, and again, it's going to make a really nice chain edge in order to pick things up. Okay, so I've had my cast on and I've knitted back on the wrong side. And it'll be really apparent to you which is the right side and which is the wrong side once we start doing the decreases, because the central double decrease creates a ridge that goes up the middle of our diamond, and that pops out on the right side. So again, I'm going to go in as if to purl and slip this first stitch off, and then take my yarn to the back. And this time, I'm going to knit 14. And the reason for that is, rather than 15, is because I want the center 3 stitches available to do my decrease with. And so 31 stitches minus 3 is 28. So that means I have 14 stitches on each side of the center. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So what I'm saying is I have 14 stitches here, 14 stitches here, and I'll have 3 right in the middle with which to work my central double decrease. So let me count real quick. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. And you can do this with any odd number. So when I make a double size square, I cast on 30 or 61 because I'm doing 31 here. So, all right, I have 14 here, I've got 14 here, and I have the next 3 stitches are going to be what I use to make my decrease in the center. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to slip 2 stitches as if to knit off together. Now, the reason for that is we want this very center stitch to be on top at the end. So let me just use another DPN as a pointer. So we have these, and I'll zoom in a little bit more as well. So we have these 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3. We want this middle one to end up opened up and on top. So that makes a really nice decrease line. So here we go. We slip these 2 stitches off together knitwise. And I like DPNs that are pretty sharp, so you can get in there and get those without splitting any stitches. Okay, so now that's on top. Then we're going to knit the next one, just a regular knit. Now we're going to separate those. Make sure you have a little space here. Separate that a little bit with your finger. because we want to go in underneath here. We want to go in underneath without splitting any stitches. Okay, separate off the one you knitted, and we're going to go in under the two that you slipped off knitwise together. Go in, and we're going to, I give this a good bit of tension because I want to tighten that knit stitch down, and we're going to slip it through the two we slipped over. So we're taking the two we slipped together and passing them over the top. I'll show you that again. And then I give it a nice little tug, and because that opens that up and makes it lay flat. Then we're going to knit this straight across. We should have 14. So that was 3, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13, and we want to make sure to knit the last stitch through the back loop. Okay, now we've done our central double decrease here. Let me zoom back out a little bit for you. Then we're just going to turn your work, and again, slip the first stitch as if to purl, then take the yarn to the back and knit your way across. We're not doing anything in the middle this time. We're on the wrong side, and all we do is knit our way across, remembering to slip the first stitch and knit the last one through the back loop. Then, since we've done a central double decrease, now we have 29 stitches instead of 31 on our needle, because a central double decrease is just what it says. It's a double decrease. So that means we've decreased away 2 stitches, and we have 29. So we need 3 in the center to perform that double decrease with. So that means we're going to be knitting 13, doing the double decrease in the middle, and knitting another 13. Remember, we knitted 14 to start with, now we're doing 13. Then we'll do 12, 11, 10, and so forth. Knit through the back loop on that last stitch. Okay. So I'm going to slip the first stitch as if to purl like before, take my yarn to the back, and I'm going to knit across 13. So that's 2, counting the one you slipped, 3. Now I'm going to slip 2 stitches together, knitwise, making sure I don't split anything. This is a little bit splitty yarn I have. Okay, slip those 2. See, still I've got a fiber from the purl bump. Okay, there we go. I think. Slip those 2 across, knit the next, and I was yank that up just a little bit, and then go in underneath those 2 stitches that you slipped and pull those over the top of the one that you knitted. There you go. And if you'll notice, I give that a little tug. That's going to be the center of our diamond. And knit another 13 back across, remembering to knit the last stitch through the back loop. Now, pretty soon that ridge or that double decrease line will become established and very, very visible, and you can feel it also. And I know right now we're keeping track of knit 14, do the decrease, knit 13, do the decrease, and so forth, but soon you'll be able to just see it and you'll know when to stop, because that decrease is right in the middle and you need 3 stitches. So you'll be able to see what's what with that very soon. So on the back side, and you can already feel that that's the back side, because this is raised on the front and this is more flat and concave on the back. So I'm slipping as if to purl, take my yarn to the back, and just knit straight across. Okay, so let me do a few more rows, and then we'll have this more established and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, you can start to see what's happening here. This is going to straighten out where these will be, at a proper 90-degree angle. It's just a little distorted right now because of the needle. But you can see the center line of that mitered, the mitered line here of the central double decrease. And I have right now 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches on each side of this center stitch. So what I know is that without even counting, I mean, I'm going to count because I always do to verify. But without even counting, you know that it's the 3 that are going to be involved in the next decrease are the middle one and 1 on each side. So these 3 center stitches will be involved in the next central double decrease that I knit. And so that leaves 7, pardon me, on each side of that, I believe. So that'd be 2, 4, 6, 7. 2, 4, 6, 7, and then we have the 3 right in the middle. So you can start to see that line happening there. So I'm going to go ahead and carry on and finish this diamond, and you'll see what it looks like. It's going to feel really fiddly when you get down to like the last 3 stitches, but just stay the course, knitting those 2 rows, and then when you get to the last center decrease with the remaining 3 stitches at the very end, you'll just do your decrease and then cut your tail and pull it right through, and I'll show you that in a moment. As I mentioned, here we are at the end. I have 3 stitches left, and all I'm going to do is that same central double decrease. So I'm just going to go in to these last 2 stitches, or the first 2 stitches of the 3, sorry, as if to knit, take that off, and I am going to go ahead and knit this one through the back loop because it is the last. And then we're going to pull those first 2 over the top, just like we've been doing here all along. And then that's it. So I'm going to trim off my yarn here. These are really awful scissors. And then I'm just going to pull that straight through and give it a little tug. And there's my square diamond. So if I was first beginning my blanket, this is how you would start. Then you would knit a second one exactly like it. And you'd put those side by side, and then you'd pick up the edges and knit the third, and then you're on your way. So you do need to knit 2 individual ones to begin with, so that you can attach the middle one and then start your pattern. So I'm going to show you now how to pick up the stitches. And I think, let's see, I had decided I would go ahead and put this next color right here. So pretend that this one and this one are the 2 that you've just barely knitted and you're just about to begin with. I'm going to stick this right in the middle here. So the first thing I want to do is just take a look. I know I'm going to need, because I've started with 31, I know that I'm going to have 15 down this edge, then I'll have my center stitch, and then I'll have 15 down this edge. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in underneath. Let me zoom in here just a little more so you can see. This is the point of having your nice chain edge and knitting those through the back loop. Or slipping the first stitch so you have a nice clean edge to see to pick up. It's super easy. You're just going to go in underneath both of those loops right there and pick up both legs. What I like to do when I very first begin, you can just wrapping this way. It's kind of, that's how you normally do it. And it's a little bit difficult to get that through. It's also okay to wrap it counterclockwise for the first one to just have a better grip on it. Then I go in underneath this second stitch, and I'm going to have 15 of these. And people complain all the time about picking up stitches, but I really don't understand why, because this is pretty straightforward, it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple to see, especially since we've knitted that last part through the back loop. It really is pretty easy to see where you need to be here. So I'm not sure why people complain so much about it. This is the same as picking up stitches on the side of a heel flap and gusset, especially if you knitted through the back loop. It's really easy to see. Maybe not so easy to talk and do it at the same time, since I just keep missing my stitches. So I will count these when I get down toward the end here and just make sure that I have the 15 that I'm supposed to have. And then I'll show you how we're going to pick up that center one and then go back up the other side. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Yay! Now, you can either pick up see, you've got this little top knot kind of thing at the very, you can either go in underneath that and pick up something, whatever looks good. That's what I'm going to do. You can also just do a backwards cast on loop and just cast on another stitch, but that will create the most tiny hole, a little minuscule hole if you do that. I just like to find a strand to pick up there. And then you'll have 15 going back at this other side. And these are super easy to see as well. See there? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. when you're going along, you can, especially when you go back up this left side, you can see the hole where you poke your needle in right there. See that? I'm going to start right off with what we've established, where I'm going to knit on the wrong side. We're just doing our garter stitch, and I'm going to slip the first one. Now, okay, so there was the 16th. Then that's the middle one. Now I want 15 here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And I have one last one here to pick up, 15. Okay, turn your work. Let me find my other needle. And then I'm right away going to start off with what we were doing all along. Let me back out a little so I try not to make you too car sick. All right, what we were doing all along is, remember, is going in as if to purl, slip that off, put the yarn to the back, and just knit across on the back side, the wrong side of your work, or the, you know that this is the back side of your blanket. And then we're going to carry on just like we did before. Okay, here I am with the completed diamond, and I'm ready to choose another tidbit and pick up another batch of edges and carry on. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. If you start your blankie, be sure to tag me on Instagram or Facebook. Let me know if you're starting your own or if you've been working on one. I'd love to see it. So tag me using hashtag Purl Together on Instagram. And, hashtag Sock Yarn Blankie. And I'll put all the links down below in the video description. Thanks for watching.